everyone, and welcome back to more Kerbals! In this part of our adventure, we shall arrive at Eve, which is over here, but will soon be over here. The purple planet is very close to us now, about 5 minutes until we reach the Sphere of Influence, but we're just going to speed that up. Or rather, 5 hours, I apologize. Now, though, I don't want to go too fast. Let's see, delete on close. We don't need this maneuver node anymore, because we know where we are. Let's see. Haha! Okay, so we have arrived at Eve. For the first time in Kerbal history, or at least in my playthrough, these Kerbals have arrived within the Sphere of Influence of Eve. And right away you can actually do quite a bit more science. If I hit the number 2 button, we're going to get an entire boon of opportunities to do some of these experiments, and I may as well just do some of this stuff now. Because I'm fairly certain that all of these will actually equate to one of these contracts, which is nice. Let's see if I move this out of the way. Yep. We get quite a bit of money and science from this contract, so pretty good stuff. And I may as well just spam all of our science while we're here, just to see how much we can actually grab while we're here. In a moment or two, I'm going to have to focus on something a bit more important, which is getting ourselves in the right trajectory. Because believe it or not, there is still a bit more work to be done to put ourselves in the orbit that we want to. When we were building this, we put a bunch of landers here that were designed specifically for landing on Eve's moon, Gilly. And these satellites, one will orbit the moon and one will orbit the planet itself. And I figure the quickest way to actually do that in a safe manner would be to actually go and change our trajectory now. Because the sooner we change it, the easier it's going to be to actually change our trajectory. So we want to hit Gilly, which is this item right here, this business. So we're going to set that as a target. There we go. Now then, before we go too much further, I do want to make sure that I can tell which direction Gilly is orbiting, if it's going clockwise or counterclockwise. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to quick save first, and then in case anything bad happens, and then I'm just going to very slowly go forward in time just to see if I can tell which direction Gilly is turning at. And if I understand it correctly, it looks like Gilly is traveling counterclockwise. Well, that was easy enough. Let's just make sure that our periaps is at a reasonable height. Wow, we still have this lower piece right here. I am shocked we still have this. We might even be able to carry it all the way out to Gilly. I would be surprised if that were actually the case, but lo and behold, I did not expect this piece to make it this far. Well, no matter, we should be in the correct position to actually perform this. First of all, let's do a couple of preliminary things. Namely, I want to make sure that our experiments are back in working order again. Let's take a look at our science. It's already bumped up to 432, which is pretty cool. I think it was at 100 earlier, so we've already bumped it up to 300 just by sitting here. But we can improve upon that, of course, once we get all of our science experiments cleaned up. More importantly, we need to hit the atmosphere at precisely the right altitude. If we're too high, we'll miss. We won't slow down as fast and jump out of the system here. But if we go down too low, we might accidentally land or crash on the planet instead. And we'd rather orbit it right now. So we have to approach very slowly and carefully. You know what's funny? We must be so close to the planet, and yet I don't actually see it. I'm sure it'll come looming up on us any moment now. Hold on, let me just take the liberty and speed things up here a tad bit. And keep an eye out in case I happen to see it. I really don't see it, though. Not quite sure what direction it would be coming from relative to where we are. Oh, there it is! Now I see it! The reason I didn't see it before was because it was hidden in the dark, because we were on the night side of it. But because we're approaching the planet, we are now seeing this big, black, ominous disk slowly approaching from just above the sun. Of course, we'll be able to see more details because it looks like we'll be burning on the bright side of the moon, or rather, entering it on the bright side of the planet, rather than the dark side, the day side, if you will. Yep, look at that. I can't wait to see the surface details now that we have this new texture pack going on too. I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Okay, so a couple things I want to do before we really approach Eve, first of all, is I'm going to turn on my science monitor, because I believe at a certain height, new science becomes available to us, and I'll have to spam the number 2 button. Or maybe just quickly click these over here, and then have one of our astronauts go out and grab it real fast. My gosh, we are descending so quickly. This is a dangerous maneuver I'm performing right here, actually. I better be ready for this, because we are falling so fast. Do you see that? Let's speed up time here just a little bit. Oh, never mind. Here we go. Okay, quickly now. Let's process all that data real fast. Actually, you know what? We'll work on keeping this data for now, or rather transmitting it, and then oh wow, we are quickly entering the orbit of Eve right here. Maybe I can do a quick EVA report if it's still safe to do so. Okay, Bill, we need you to be a hero here. EVA report. Okay, good. Get the heck back inside. Transmit the data, because we're gonna be really booking it here. Oh, we can now see the surface details on the planet as well. There we go. Lab analysis is still going strong. That's about as much science as we're capable of doing. Oh, mystery goo, of course. I forgot about that. Mystery goo. Okay, quickly transmit that. We're gonna do that instead. Temperature scan. We can do a temperature scan as well. Okay, good. This is gonna be a big race, admittedly. Temperature scan. Oh no! Can you not actually give me this temperature? Oh geez, are we too... Do we not have enough, like... Okay, material study, crew report, temperature scan... Oh! Temperature scan, yes, there we go. Transmit that. Make sure everything else is nominal. Okay, good. We are getting pretty decent amount of progress here. Let's clean our experiments real quick so they can be reused, because once we get low enough again, we'll be able to grab even more science during this maneuver. Let's see, gravity scan. Of course we want to transmit that. Nice. Let's take a moment to relax and look at the details here. Down on the surface of the planet, we can actually see some little details on the surface there. That's pretty neat. I'm glad I got this texture pack, actually. It makes the whole planet look really cool, and it's really nice to see another planet than Kerbal for a change. These nice purple dark hues. It makes the planet look rather ominous and, like, frightening, actually. Wow, we can even see the mountaintops too. We are really close to the surface. And now that we're below 100 kilometers, I believe that actually puts us in the, technically in the atmosphere of the planet, so we're really close. Again, by the way, the goal is not to land on Eve right now. The goal is to achieve an orbit. And the best way to be able to pull that off is to actually make sure that we stay in the atmosphere for just enough time for our number to go down. We can already see the process is starting here. This number should get higher and higher, and eventually we'll attain an orbit. If the orbit doesn't work out precisely as it should, we can also burn our fuel to put ourselves into an orbit, but I'd rather not waste it. At the very least, we're going to slow down, which is handy. Oh, look at that. We are definitely slowing down now. In fact, the entire frame rate is slowing down because so much is happening right now. Oh gosh, I love this. I wish we could stay here in this position right now, actually. This looks really cool. It would be impossible to do so, but it would be pretty neat to be able to perform. Let's see, our numbers are still going down, which is good. Our periaps, we're about to hit in 7 seconds, so once we hit the periaps, we'll be going as slow as we can manage ourselves to be. The game still considers us low in the atmosphere. I believe there's another one that says flying high rather than saying low above the atmosphere, but I don't think we're going to be able to achieve that, so we might be about as good as we can manage, because our altimeter is already starting to go back up. Let's check our numbers here. Looks like it's pretty good. We should be able to attain an orbit any moment now, actually. Let's see if I can increase the odds by going to a full retrograde position here. Maybe if we're really, really lucky. I think we're just going to be able to attain an orbit. It's not going to be a perfect orbit, but it's going to be the best that we can do for the time being, because our numbers are already quickly climbing back up. Yeah, I think it may have to burn retrograde here. See how that number isn't quite going down to an orbital speed? So we've come close, but I don't think we quite achieved the orbital speed that we wanted to. But that's okay. We have fuel to burn. We can do this. I just have to make sure that we are at a retrograde position right here. Yeah, that number's not going down anymore. Well, no matter. We can adjust. It's just a bit sad that we have to perform this maneuver manually instead. Oh. Did you hear that, guys? This engine finally gave out. Well, no matter. It served us well over the years, and unfortunately it has its own untimely fate to meet. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decouple this, and then continue to burn with just our atomic rockets. At least until we attain an orbital speed, which should be happening any moment now, honestly. Let's take a look at that rocket piece that we've left behind. It just barely avoided getting into an orbit around Eve, so instead, that piece should escape Eve altogether and wind up in an orbit around the Sun, ultimately. Okay, so it's not correctly aligned with the orbit as I had hoped I could have made it, but that's not going to be that big of an issue. So, our debris here, that lower tank that we launched earlier, is unfortunately going to go travel off and be its own planet around the Sun forever. Fortunately, though, it did have a chance to go explore Eve for a little bit, so I'm glad we managed to get it that far. Look at that planet. I can't wait to start landing things on it. We'll have to wait for the Eve payload to arrive, but that's only going to be in a few days from now. Meanwhile, let us again focus on reaching Gilly. And I believe what we want to do is adjust our maneuver here so that we can actually hit it. Alrighty, ladies and gents, we are back and about ready to encounter Eve's moon, Gilly. Now, Gilly is unlike a moon we've ever seen before. Maybe we can see... Yep, there it is. It's a bit more like an asteroid, actually. I believe the idea behind Gilly is that it was a giant asteroid that turned into a moon of Eve's, which is sitting over there. So Eve, with its big gravitational force, grabbed this hunk of rock, and they became friends. Anyway, we shall now become friends with Gilly too, but first we have to enter its sphere of influence. Let's see here. Now, because Gilly is so small, because it is really just a big giant rock and not too much of a planet or world or anything, we only have a very, very limited amount of time here within the sphere of influence, so we have to make sure that we make it count if we want to stay here. Okay, so first of all, here we are. We've made it into the sphere of influence, or the sphere of influence of Gilly. We also need to make sure that we... Oops. There we go. Wow, that is pretty wacky. Let's see. We are at a periaps of 48. I want to make sure that we also get 48 over here too, roughly. 48 to 50. And about there ought to do the trick, roughly speaking. There we go. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just has to be good enough for an orbit for a map set. And of course, now that we've entered a new sphere of influence for the first time, we can also do some more experiments here as well. So let's do the whole suite here. Material study. I'm just going to do the usual routine first. I'm going to transmit everything, and then keep what we can't transmit. Now then, this is probably going to be one of the easiest parts of our mission. Basically, the hard stuff is over now that we've entered the sphere of influence of Gilly. From here on out, it's going to be mostly smooth sailing, admittedly. Because all we have to do now here is burn it retrograde a bit, and then we're basically set. While we're here, I can also take the liberty of doing another EVA for a... Whoa! Did you guys see that twitching there? Whoa! Oh, I see what happened. I'm going to keep that, of course. Keep it. I'm not sure entirely what happened there, but it looks like Bill became dislodged from his location there. I hope that didn't affect our positioning at all. I really much doubt it did. I don't think Bill has too much of influence over the entirety of the Charon rocket here. At least on his own without touching the controls. But worry not, says me, because we are now entering the sphere of influence and hopefully putting ourselves in a parking orbit, which should mean that we're going to stay here. Once we position ourselves here, I'm pretty sure Charon is going to become a long-term but not permanent space station around Gilly for our landers to operate upon. And maybe to make things go a bit faster, let's just speed up a bit. I'm using the alternate and the, let's see, well that's too fast. Okay, let's slow ourselves the heck down. Wow, that got messed up. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I guess that's what happens when you burn a bit overzealously, I guess? That's unfortunate. No matter. We'll just have to have a closer periapse than originally intended. 39, 40. Okay, we've attained a parking orbit. So, everyone, welcome to Gilly. Gilly should be a really fun place to explore, I hope. We've got plenty of things to do while we're here, and, actually, we can get started on a couple of those right away. Let me start by working with our probes. We brought a couple of ion-propelled satellites with us earlier, and if we deploy those here in this orbit, we'll be able to ensure that we have a constant presence here at Gilly and Eve, even after we eventually leave to go home. So, let's see. Let's actually waste no time doing this. I'm going to quick save before anything happens, just in case anything silly occurs to us in the next couple of minutes or so. And I'm going to deploy these satellites. Now then, we could deploy the entire thing by decoupling the entire satellite piece here, but it's not really going to need this monopropellant fuel once it gets out there, so I'm actually going to keep the monopropellant fuel attached to Charon, and that way we can utilize and take advantage of the monopropellant that we have left on it for future missions. So actually, I think I can probably just deploy them now. Now then, let us deploy one of them by clicking the decoupler instead. Whoa, something there poofed. I think those were the struts that were breaking, actually. I don't think anything actually became in danger of becoming damaged. So, now that we've done that, what is that way the heck out there? What is that thing? I have no idea what that is that we just deployed. But whatever it is, it's on its way to an untimely demise. Charon debris. I don't like the fact that there's debris here that I can't explain. Well, no matter. There's not much we can do about it now. I'm going to check out what this Charon debris is that's about to collide. I want to see what it is just to make sure I didn't break anything serious. Oh! Yeah, these are just, strut pieces. I don't know why the game feels compelled to tell us about this. That is needlessly unnecessary. Let's see, can I go to the Charon... No, no, I can't, of course. Well, no matter. I guess we're gonna leave a bunch of junk out here in orbit. That's kind of annoying. So the first thing I'm going to do right now before I forget is deploy our solar panels. That way we can ensure that this will receive power. There's the Charon that we've left behind. Let's see, the probe needs a better name. Let's see, what should we call this? Oh, right, of course. Well, we were naming them after the Ages of Mist, if I recall. And I'm going to name this one Channelwood. Channelwood is going to be an orbiter that explores Eve rather than Gilly, so all I really have to worry about doing right now is making sure that we activate our engine, that we turn to a prograde vector here, like so, and now all I really need to concern myself with is escaping Gilly. I know we just got here, but if we can escape Gilly, that'll put us back in an orbit around Eve instead. And by making sure that we have this around Eve, it'll ensure that we have a constant orbit around Eve, and therefore we'll have a constant presence here, other than Venera, which is still hanging out over here. So, basically this probe is already all set to go. I'm just going to use it to collect science when missions pop up here. So, Channelwood's all set. Now then, I'm going to do the same thing for this decoupler here, because there goes our other system. By now, I'm pretty sure that we've absolutely flooded this entire area with a whole ton... Yep, there's so much debris in this orbit. I'm thinking once we get the other probe taken care of, we're gonna have to lower our own Charon orbit here just to make sure that it doesn't crash or break or anything either. And I might have to delete some of that debris just to make sure that the screen doesn't get too cluttered. So, I'm naming this mission Selenitic after the one of the other Ages of Mist. First of all, we need to deploy our solar panels to ensure safety. Rename to Selenitic. And unlike the other probe that we launched a moment ago, Selenitic is just going to sit here, right where I've left it in orbit. Let's see, 41, 39. I can adjust its orbit a little bit to be a little bit more comfortable. And, wow, look at this. Guys, are you seeing this? Most of the debris that we've launched here is actually going to either crash into Gilly or just flat out escape it. So actually, this debris is not really going to become an issue for us. It's probably just going to wind up in an orbit around Eve or crash or not matter. So I'm pretty confident that our mission is going to be safe here, as is our dear beloved Selenitic, which will be able to capture data for us from now on. The last thing we need to worry about doing to put ourselves in a more comfortable orbit is by making sure that we take the Charon here and put it in as low of an orbit as possible, because that will make it a little bit safer for these landers to go down and return from. So the first thing I want to do is actually burn retrograde to get ourselves into as low of an orbit as possible. So instead of using... Actually, no, I think we can just use our normal boosters here. I'm just going to burn retrograde until we get to about 10 kilometers or so. I think that should be safe. The thing is that the closer we get to the surface, the easier it's going to be to do those deploy missions. Let's see. We're leaving a ton of debris behind. Those are the two decouplers that were holding the Selenitic and Channelwood probes a moment ago. Okay, and we've got it. We've got a nice stable parking orbit around Gilly. And we're going to stay here for quite a while in this specific orbit that we've calculated for, because this is going to be the orbit that we need for basically all of our remaining Gilly missions while we're here. Let's take a look at our exploration abilities so far. Flag on Eve, explore Gilly. We're partially done with exploring Gilly. We have to actually land on it now. Separatrons, stack decouplers, those are all missions that the Eve payload mission is going to have to perform, which is actually on its way. So actually, that's pretty much going to be it for this episode. In the next episode, rather than landing on Gilly, I'm going to make sure that the Eve payload actually arrives safely first, and then we'll start doing our landing missions, just to keep things nice and tidy. So until then everyone, this is Ardwick, stay tuned, and good night.